Oh, it's over. Nancy Sidley's verdict. After another disastrous weekend, proving that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are on edge, with even their enemies at the Daily Mail reporting on new strains in the marriage. So yes, Harry and Meghan stepped out separately in New York, going their separate ways. Harry went one way, Meghan went the other way. I mean, it was not a huge surprise, given the barely simmering tension being able to keep under the surface at the Humanitarian of the Year Awards. I still laugh at that on Friday night. So here was Meghan, solo dining.
Ready?
And yet, as Royally Sage pointed out, he never leaves. He never leaves because he wants her to attack his family, even though looks could kill, as the royal grift also beautifully pointed out. And look, there were so many issues that even came through after the event on Friday night, when remember both of these two would have been desperate to be on their best behavior and try to show a united front. Watch.
My husband's gonna sit this one out. You just got me. How's everybody doing today? We're gonna turn to one of the most urgent questions facing families today. What's happening to childhood? And how and what do we do to allow our children to just be children?
And of course, the one man who never leaves her side is Marcus Anderson. As Brittany of the Royal News Network pointed out, I'm sure Harry will say one day that there were three of them in their marriage: Harry, Meghan, and Marcus Anderson. Why Marcus is always there is super weird. Does Meghan always need her best friend there for moral support? It's just a bit bizarre. And we're going to come to these new Daily Mail bombshell claims in just one moment. But first, let me bring in the aforementioned Brittany, editor of the Royal News Network. I mean, Brittany, this New York trip has just been a disaster if this was a couple intending to prove to the world that they were united, because they look anything but.
Nancy Sidley's take lands like a gavel. It's over. After a bruising weekend, even the Daily Mail is whispering about new strain. The optics from New York didn't help. 2 people, 2 tracks, and a Humanitarian of the Year stage that couldn't thaw the chill.
They definitely do, Dan. Harry and Meghan are just on completely separate ends of various issues. And it was just hard to ignore some of the tension, some of the mask dropping, and how they really didn't interact with each other very much in some ways. And of course, this was to put on a united front, show their relationship was on a high or whatever. But I always feel like we get anything but. And the descent happened last year, or at least it started last year. And I think it's continuing to go. And Meghan doing her own thing and Harry doing his own thing. Well, I mean, couples do that. But for 2 people who used to call themselves salt and pepper and had to do everything together, once you stop doing that, people are going to begin to talk.
Oh, yes, they are. And they are now talking, Brittany, with the Daily Mail reporting what that solo Paris trip says about Harry and Meghan's marriage after she once said she couldn't go to the French capital because of H's mom. Now, Brittany, you know I like to give a lot of context when I'm talking about this mainstream media reporting, but actually this is particularly interesting because it is a very in-depth piece from the chief show business correspondent for the Daily Mail, Alison Boshoff, who has proven over the years she has lots of sources in Team Montecito. And it's really interesting that the Mail is going here because, you know, for a number of months, they have been trying to curry favor ahead of this court case with Prince Harry in January. But it was just too big to ignore. I think, what happened in Paris. So let me take you through some of this reporting, Brittany, and we'll analyze as we go, but it really is interesting stuff. Not necessarily anything that I haven't been reporting for some time, but it's the fact it's in the Daily Mail. So Alison Boshoff writes, more disquietingly though, sources close to the Duke and Duchess have indicated to me that Meghan's choice of the French capital for her latest relaunch has caused them deep concern. Certainly their appearance on Thursday night in New York when they were named Humanitarians of the Year at the Project Healthy Minds Gala will not have helped. They arrived hand in hand with Meghan in a money power suit, but although the former actress shot a number of soupy glances in her husband's direction, he largely looked furious, and his occasional smiles were tight little grimaces. Granted, when on stage they were talking about their crusade against online harm to children, but both looked utterly miserable. Harry glared, lips pursed. Meghan looked uncomfortable at best. What's not in any doubt is that Meghan is continuing to forge her own path professionally. When it comes to Meghan, say a number of former friends, nothing happens by accident. One friend of Harry's told me she's driving around in that city where his mother died. She knows exactly what she's doing. So perhaps it's not surprising that some associates are not buying the official explanation. One said, Harry must have been sick from trauma and worry. I simply cannot understand it. Some have told me of their shock at the seeming tactlessness of using this route for the Duchess's publicity purposes. One perfectly placed source says they are so astonished at this because both Meghan and Harry have turned down numerous invitations to attend events in Paris over recent years. The reason given, I'm told, is always the same. That city's association with the tragic death of Diana, Princess of Wales. A source told me there was always a hard line from him, a total blanket no. Harry, they said, would consistently make it clear that he would not go to Paris because of his mother. I'm told by the same source, Meghan would explain when asked, I cannot go to Paris because of H's mum. But a source tells me the Bloomberg interview was odd because it felt as if Meghan had no idea what she was talking about. She said that everyone associates her with fashion, and that's not the case. She has given quite a few print interviews in her career, and more than often, they're a disaster. It's not her best medium. She doesn't tend to come across very well. Despite this, a well-placed source says the word is she is currently involved in putting together a cover for a glossy magazine, maybe Vogue. An explanation then would be that the Paris trip was necessary for that media commitment. Perhaps the cover story is Meghan takes Paris, and the idea of that kind of prestigious media hit was simply too tempting for her to overthink Harry's feelings. But away from her marriage, where does the Duchess's Paris sojourn leave her main business concern as ever? According to one friend, at the moment she is literally lost because the whole jam-making business does not work out in the way she thought it would. Nobody has seen any figures, but I don't think they are good. I know they just released a Sauvignon Blanc, but it's not going to make her lots of money because Netflix owns the business. It remains to be seen if Harry puts in an appearance on Tuesday next week when Meghan is due to speak at Fortune magazine's most powerful women event in Washington, D.C. One suspects not. One associate said they want different things, and there are times when it is really not great. I mean, really not great at all. Next week's Most Powerful Women event is interesting too, as it yet again positions Meghan as a female founder of what beyond a jam line the cynic in one can't help but wonder, and helps her to network with very wealthy business women. Perhaps we are seeing the influence of Meredith Maines, her PR chief, who was hired in February this year from Lightspeed Venture Partners. And it does look like there's a change coming in terms of as ever. Food might go to a retailer, homeware to another. Target, Bristol Farms and Williams Sonoma have been discussed already. And a friend reveals she just wants to make money. She wants to be a billionaire. The trouble is she doesn't know how. And you have to wonder, is her husband Harry on the same page? So, Brittany, what is so fascinating to me about this reporting is that it's the Daily Mail going there. It is the Daily Mail, which has been trying to curry favour with Harry and Meghan for so long, finally admitting there are huge troubles in the marriage. And there are also huge troubles in the marriage because of the massive troubles with Meghan's failing business.
Yes, they arrived together. No, it didn't read united. Meghan handled the patter. Harry's smiles looked stapled on. Backstage, a blink, and you miss it, clips surfaced. Her laughing, him glancing over, pushed as proof of harmony. Online, it was christened a last-second save. And the line that launched the headlines, "My husband's going to sit this one out. He did. She didn't."
Yes, you cannot ignore the collapse of As Ever. Obviously, With Love, Meghan too would have been a huge blow to Meghan's ego. And so, because of all these failures, Meghan is trying even harder to make things succeed. And of course, the Paris trip was part of that. She desperately wanted to be part of that elite fashion world, and she sort of invited herself. And we end up with this scenario where she looks entirely tone deaf, filming a video around the streets of Paris where her mother-in-law was tragically died. And so I can imagine Harry was quite furious about that in many ways. It was just so thoughtless of Meghan. But as the desperation becomes more intense, we'll definitely be seeing more of this, because Meghan just has no chill factor whatsoever. She has no ability to rein herself in. And because of that, people generally don't like her. She turns people off. And we're going to see that here very, very soon again, because we haven't had a lot of Meghan for, let's say, the last month or two, and then she just vomits everything at once. And that's sort of Meghan's thing. She'll be quiet, and then she'll just send out everything at once. It tends not to go very well for her. And Harry definitely feels left in the dust. He doesn't like this Hollywood world. And yeah, that's going to lead to tensions. And I'm sure money is a huge, huge factor in that as well.
Well, of course, because from what I'm told, he was absolutely disgusted, not just by the display in Paris, but also the display in New York over the weekend, Brittany. I mean, as Nancy Sidley pointed out, Meghan Markle is so afraid for her safety and security that she made sure to do a pap walk of her walking into the Carlisle hotel where she is staying in New York. And then Royal Thoughts posted this from one of the articles in the Mail. Markle seen at luxury Carlisle hotel where rooms can go for $1,900 a night before accepting the humanitarian award, and she wore a suit worth nearly £6,000, jewellery worth more than £238,000. But Brittany, I also want to talk about the fight back, okay, because there was a very obvious fight back from Meghan after all of our analysis from Friday night. And what they managed to do, what she managed to do, is find one very short video backstage where Harry wasn't grimacing too much at her. But Harry's Meghan Spare posted about the video. This, ladies and gents, is what you call a Hail Mary. So let's just take a little look at it, because you can see that he's sort of looking over at her. She's laughing, and she said, to the man who's always keeping me laughing. But if you look closer at the body language, maybe all is not what it first seemed. Because you can see there, Brittany, the way that he is holding the papers and looking at her is not necessarily in the way that she's trying to present it. What did you think of this, Brittany?
When I see the video, all I can think is, can you say staged? Because that looks entirely staged. I mean, how did somebody happen to have a camera to capture that exact moment? It's because it was entirely set up. It's completely fake. And Harry's off in a corner looking like he's trying to prepare. And Meghan's, I'm sure, trying to dig into her very, very meager acting skills to laugh. And it just doesn't prove anything. Of course, the Sussex stands will love something like that, but it just doesn't prove anything. We know that they have very different views about what they want for particular things in their future. And so this is just not going to end very well for them. And they just keep trying to sell it, trying and trying again. And I just don't buy it. It looks just completely set up. And just to get oh, look how amazing my husband is, even though, you know, she'll put up a 10-plus-year-old picture of him for his birthday when he used to have hair. So anyways, I think Meghan is sort of over it. Harry's sort of over it, but they're stuck together, at least for the next little bit, I think.
100%. And the thing, Brittany, when you looked at any of the other footage from Friday, it was a very different Harry that we saw. And Revealing the Narc, who does a lot of good work on this, said Harry didn't just look distant last night. He looked haunted. I agree. I actually really agree. And they added, after Meghan's Paris drive-by, it's impossible not to see the emotional echo of Diana. This wasn't just coldness, it was a man reliving his deepest trigger. This is one of the videos that they picked up of Meghan making a silent demand. The Royal Grift also picked up on one of the exchanges between the couple, writing, "If looks could kill." And then what... I mean, goodness, you really, really can see it. And last night, of course, they were all together in New York. And some people, Brittany, you know I'm not a fashion guy, but some people, including Harry's Meghan Spare, pointing out that Meghan was yet again in her signature wrinkled pants. But perhaps what was more interesting was this from Princess Carparkle, who said, "That body language tells you all you need to know. Harry could not be leaning any further away, and he's got his arm almost as a barrier between himself and Meghan Markle. I really feel like Paris did unredeemable damage, because here's the thing, even if she didn't mean to be insensitive, callous and horrible with her video near the tunnel, the optics and how it landed were absolutely appalling. I'm not so sure her intentions were innocent. She's extremely calculated and intentional with her actions. So to all of a sudden whoopsie with the video near the site of her husband's mother's death just isn't believable to me. I think that was devastating to Harry, and he is furious. There's no way, as paranoid as he is, this is a man that resented the world for mourning his mother. He's not going to take kindly to his wife exploiting his mother's death site." And Brittany, even you looked at a lot of the photos that were posted between the pair and wrote, "The tension appears rather palpable in the pictures. To be fair, Harry is awkward at these events, but Meghan, as ever, always overcompensates. Her fake looks of love are just a little pathetic at this point. Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban did that too, and we all know where that ended up." So Brittany, we're going to take a bit of a closer look at some of these new videos that have come out over the weekend, but as an overall, I don't think this was a single snap. It was in virtually every photo or piece of video footage from the event, this huge tension between the two of them. It was unmistakable. It was impossible to avoid, and I believe impossible to cover up.
The fuse was lit earlier. Meghan's solo Paris swing and that nighttime car video near the site associated with Diana's death. According to Daily Mail showbiz editor Alison Boshoff, sources say Harry long drew a hard line on Paris. Now allies are asking why the exception, and why like that? Whatever the intent, the impact was obvious. If he was raw before New York, it showed under the lights.
Yes, Harry definitely, I think at these type of events, especially with all the clicking of the cameras and the flashing of lights, I mean, she kind of drags him into his own PSD level trauma all the time, PTSD trauma all the time, because he hates the cameras. And yet she drags him in front of them all the time because she wants them. She desperately wants all of this. She would be on red carpets all the time if she could. That's definitely where Meghan Markle wants to be. And that's not where really Harry wants to be. But they have to play this game. They have to basically buy awards in order to feel like they have like either a bit of authority or a bit of prestige in the space that they're in. They're always picking up these sort of meaningless awards, and it's all really for nothing. And I think Harry thought this Hollywood life in America would be very, very different than how it ended up. And you have the Paris thing on top of it. And I'm sure the money is not coming in the way it used to. And that's going to cause tensions and strain in the marriage, because I think they want very different things out of life. And I think Harry was sold a bill of goods by Meghan, and he's found out that most of that wasn't ever really true. And that constant tension between the delusions and reality, I'm sure, caused a lot of frictions within their relationship.
Indeed. And Brittany, let's just take a look at some of the new footage that has emerged. Firstly, Meghan being incredibly smug on that red carpet. Watch. And my God, the only thing she looks at with any love is the cameras. And in the one moment that Harry did try and show her some physical affection, it was pretty obvious that she wasn't happy about it.
Please. Watch the hands. Right down the middle. Right down the middle.
And even at dinner with Marcus Anderson looking on, the conversations remain tense. So, Brittany, I mean, that is when they knew they were on camera and when they didn't think they were on camera. I would argue both equally as tense.
Exactly, because when it comes to being on camera, Meghan very much wants to play the loved up couple. So they always have to hold hands. They always have to be, she has to do those looks of love. But once the cameras are off, you see a very different couple. And this is part of the whole act and why it comes across as so fake is because it is. And on the red carpet, Meghan she is in love with the camera. She could stand there for hours doing various poses, and she's not even that good at posing, but she would try to get them as many pictures as she could because this is what Meghan always wanted was the flashing lights, the paparazzi's attention, what she could never get as Meghan Markle from Suits because she wasn't a good actress. She didn't have a particular level of talent, and things just weren't going to happen for her. And Harry was her meal ticket in this world. Unfortunately for her, he doesn't like it. And so she never, I don't think, fully calculated that into her mind. And he's gone along with a lot, I think, for her. But I do believe he absolutely hates this, and she could not love it more. And they tried to act all loved up, but as soon as the cameras are off, a different side always emerges because everything is an act. Just like Meghan trying to do the Zoolander poses and the smirks and everything, the pouty lips in France was as fake as her grinning constantly. All of it is fake, and it just comes across insanely so.
Indeed, but what was also insane, Brittany, was the fact that he got up on that stage, Harry this is, and yet again went on what I believe is a completely deranged rant against free speech, against the American Constitution, and obviously he cloaks all of this in his desire to protect children, even though yet again over the weekend, Meghan's pimping out Lily to try and make a feminist point, yet Harry gets up on stage and puts out his nonsense, which is all just to stop people like me writing nasty but true things about him. And I think the Royal Griff summed this up very well, Brittany. They wrote, "Enemy of America Prince Harry took a jab at President Trump because he has affected both foreign policy and climate policy by cutting off the money flow to causes that don't benefit America, but instead to globalists like him. He is pissed because he can't grift off the backs of the American taxpayer in the NGO charity money laundering scheme. Harry belongs to a billionaire's family, who his father happens to be king. If he really understood the stress of financial burden and what that has to mental health on others, then he can pay for his private security. This whiny asshole still gets protection when he visits the UK. Stop being such a useless eating parasite on society." And I know that's very harsh, but Brittany, I had a similar reaction. Here's just, I can only deal with a very small bit of it, but you'll see this sort of mindless propaganda that he continues to spout even now.
Marcus Anderson popped up again beside Meghan. Security blanket or permanent seatmate? Commentators joked there are 3 in this marriage. Meanwhile, Harry railed about tech and policy. Meghan worked the lenses and lined up the next glossy moment. Career chatter keeps humming, speaking slots, brand pivots, rumored magazine cover, fueling the sense that she's flooring it while he's riding the brake. Even friendly outlets now concede they want different things.
Health is shaped by public health, foreign policy, climate policy, corporate design, and economic choices. Too often, decisions made by a few powerful actors ripple across the planet into every aspect of our.
I mean, Brittany, what is he talking about? I mean, he went on, by the way, to take aim at tech companies and actually described their internal policies as depraved, saying they were putting children at risk. This from the husband of a woman who is continually pimping out her children on Instagram. Make it make sense.
It doesn't make sense, Dan. That's the thing. None of this makes sense. But Harry very much lives in the land of delusion, and so does his wife. So by extension, the two of them are just an absolute mess together. But this vendetta against social media companies all comes down to Meghan Markle. Harry and Meghan, in my personal opinion, are not interested in actually helping the families that are part of the Parents Network. What they want to do is leverage their grief to lobby social media companies to make things better for Meghan Markle so that nobody will ever criticize them ever again. That's what he wants. They want censorship, they want control, and that's something that in our Constitution, number one, should never happen. But if you can't deal with the realities of being a public figure, which means that you will get criticism, then buy a plot of land in Texas, build a big fence around it, and then you can do whatever the heck you want and nobody will ever bother you again. Harry just has no clue, no concept of what real people go through. He's constantly trying to push his own agenda when it's really just a way to help his wife. He's not really trying to help these families. And it's really pathetic. It's really disgusting what they're doing by leveraging true grief for their own greed. And I just find that to be completely deplorable on their part.
Totally. Well, it is. And of course, Brittany, there is this huge backlash over what they said and over the humanitarian award in the first place. Lots of people angry over the weekend, and I completely understand it. At Katie Couric, former host of the Today Show in the US, she's gone very woke-topian of late, but actually praising Harry and Meghan, claiming not only that their work is extraordinary, but saying that they are not just giving it lip service, which is totally bizarre because, of course, that's exactly what they do. They absolutely only give lip service to their work, and they spend 1 hour a week on it. There was a huge backlash to this, Brittany. Anna Rojas posted, "What work? H&M has been useless, destructive, and abusive of charities." Meghan's Mike wrote, "Harry and Meghan don't deserve the Humanitarian of the Year award. Check out their abuses: African Park, Centre Bali, Sussex Squad, Balenciaga, Meghan's Paris stunt, Meghan's family, Archie and Lily, the royal family." Queer Lips of Truth replied, says the person in bed with Balenciaga. And Anna Rogers added, "Meghan supporting the bully Chrissy Teigen and the depraved people of the statistic brand Balenciaga gives lessons to the world about the dangers of children. This is just an excuse to support censorship on the networks and in the information, especially because she has a very dirty past." And Brittany, that is what this is about. It really is. Mm-hmm. This is about censorship, pure and simple.
It is 150%. Harry and Meghan don't want anything to go out unless they approve it. It's exactly how they want it worded and everything. They very much want to be like a dictator in North Korea. And that's just not reality of the situation. But what's truly really disgusting about them is that they have this Parents Network, and one family got a little bit of a blurb in a Hello magazine article. And when you actually read through it, basically the parents are just there to gush about Harry and Meghan. And it's like, they give great hugs, apparently. Well, that's fine and dandy, but what is the point of the Parents Network? What are Harry and Meghan really trying to achieve? It doesn't even make any sense. And again, it really comes down to why it's so ill-defined, why Harry and Meghan aren't promoting it the way they should as a nonprofit to help families, is that it's truly about helping Meghan. And if they actually put too much effort and emphasis into the Parents Network, then that might actually grow and they can't just grift off it. And that's what they want to do. They want to grift off this effort, grift off these families to protect themselves. And I think that's absolutely terrible. And if the families get something out of the Parents Network, I mean, that's great, but there's nothing more here than just Harry and Meghan. And as always, to mainly protect Meghan. That's it.
Of course. And the bigger irony in all of that is this is a couple which is completely dysfunctional. This is a couple whose marriage is breaking down, who are on very different paths, who want very different things. And even in New York, when they knew they had the eyes of the world on them, they couldn't put on a united display. That tells you everything you need to know. But as I've been saying for a very long time, and remember I was the first to report on these tensions, it doesn't mean that you're going to see a divorce announcement, because these two are trapped with each other. And it's painful and it's miserable and it's going to be a long, slow decline. But trust me, it's happening.
Don't expect a courthouse sprint. Think managed drift. Watch for more solo appearances labeled focus or scheduling, carefully cut micro clips of cuddly moments amid longer stretches apart, a friend seated between them at tables and photo lines, parallel narratives, her founder divided by fashion, circuit versus his policy divided by impact talks. Bottom line, unity feels staged now, and after Paris and New York, the seams aren't just showing, they're part of the story.